NATO's internal divide over Ukraine is now out in the open. Hungary's Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, is openly challenging NATO's war strategy, warning that Western troop deployments and Ukraine's fast-track push into Europe would drag the continent into a direct war with Russia. As Orban sounds the alarm from Budapest, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte is in Kyiv, vowing to keep pressure on Moscow and expand support for Ukraine.
So if we're talking about war and the danger that war has brought to Hungary, then we have to separate two parts. There is the current direct danger. Today, the direct danger is that the Hungarians will take their money to Ukraine. The next danger is that they will take the Hungarian youth, recruit them as soldiers. This is what they're talking about in Europe. The European Army, the Joint European Command. We're not going to give it to them. So someone else would have the right to recruit the enlisted Hungarian youth. This is unacceptable.
Orban says NATO's plans to put Western soldiers on Ukrainian soil would turn European troops into targets for Russia and pull Central Europe onto the front line.
And it's not just the NATO Secretary General's words, but there are written agreements between the French and the British. There are so-called strengthening German declarations, which say that they want to recruit soldiers in Ukraine. I think they call this a security guarantee. What the Russians said, and they say it every day, they say, don't do this. Because if Western soldiers enter the Ukrainian territory, they mean a military target for the Russians, or they will shoot at them. This means that if we send soldiers to Ukraine so that there is no agreement with the Russians about this means that the European army, European soldiers are fighting the Russians in the Ukrainian territory.
Orban also warns that bringing Ukraine into the European Union would make war with Russia unavoidable.
The Ukrainian European Union membership means that we are taking a country that is at war with Russia, and if a member of the Union is at war, the others also need to get involved in this war. The Ukrainian European Union membership means immediate war with Russia, and if it is at peace with Russia, then it constantly carries the risk of war.
In Kyiv, NATO's chief, Mark Rutte, is delivering a sharply different message, accusing Moscow of not being serious about peace and doubling down on pressure and long-term backing for Ukraine.
President Trump and his team are determined to stop the bloodshed with the support of America's allies. And it is clear that Ukraine is committed. Direct talks are now underway, and this is important progress. But Russia attacks, like those last night, do not signal seriousness about peace.
Rutte says Russia is losing and paying a heavy price for the war, arguing that sustained pressure is working.
We know Russia is paying a heavy price for this war, with over 1 million casualties to date and rising. Yet, despite Putin's willingness to sacrifice countless of his own people, he is not winning. Any gains on the battlefield are grindingly slow. And while China, North Korea, Iran and Belarus continue to support Russia's war machine, Putin's economy is suffering the impact of isolation. And increasing pressure on Russia's shadow fleet is beginning to bite.
Rutte says NATO will not back off, even as talks move forward, promising years of support for Kyiv. Orban says NATO's path risks dragging Europe into a wider war with Russia. As negotiations inch forward, NATO's split over Ukraine is now playing out in public.
We will keep up the pressure on Russia, and we will continue our support for Ukraine. So, members of the Rada, As the very capable team appointed by President Zelensky continues their work to negotiate a lasting end to this war, know that NATO continues to stand with Ukraine and will continue to do so in the years ahead. Your security is our security.
Дякую вам разом з делегацією за участь у нашому засіданні. Дякуємо за тверду і непохідну